It is 4:04. We're going to go ahead and start our study session today. The topic of our study session is our vision and values refinement. So that is going to be handled today by Joe. So we'll turn the time over to him.
Okay. Thank you for being here on it's a hot summer day out there. Thank you. We are excited because the objective of this study session is to reflect on the stakeholder input that we sought at 28 different schools, and then refine our TSD vision and values as a result of what we will gather back from you today. With Sterling gone, this is kind of something that Sterling is exceedingly invested in, so we're not going to pretend to get to a final draft today, but what we hope to do is get back from you some significant input that you gathered from all of these visits we did, and by looking at some of the things that came back in the survey that we gave to all of the people who were in those meetings. And then with Sterling, when he gets back, he and I will go through all of your feedback that you're going to provide us today, and then try to get to more of a final draft that we will bring back to another study session, either in a couple of weeks or a month, regarding our vision and values. So with that, here's just a few things by the numbers. Some of the efforts that we did on the vision and values tour. We did 28 different schools. The only one we missed was Mountain View. That was partly by design because they're getting a new principal, so we moved that to the fall for them. Partly it was a little bit of time as well because we were a little bit crunched in the spring trying to get to all 29 schools. But we did get to 28 of them. At each meeting, or at each school, we met with 4 different stakeholder groups, as you know, students, teachers, parents, and school leadership, which means we held 112 different meetings with stakeholders. And roughly, that was about 75 hours that we spent in the schools interfacing with about 1,200 to 1,500 stakeholders. Every visit included board members and district leadership team members. There wasn't a single visit we didn't have at least one board member, and there were multiple visits where we had 3 board members, which I thought was very admirable. The investment that our board members made in these visits. Of those 1,200 to 1,500 stakeholders, we had almost 500 respondents, 491 respondents. Electronically, they entered something. And again, all 7 board members attended multiple schools. So it's kind of the numbers part of it, but culturally, what I was super excited about with these visits to schools is that with the stakeholder input, and you felt this as you were in these visits, that this will significantly improve our vision and values articulation. It'll simply be quite a bit better than it is in this draft form. In fact, by the end, we were saying, we're almost embarrassed to put this draft out there now because we know in our own mind it's better. But I think the second bullet might be the most important element for me. Is that this shaped us, shaped me certainly as a superintendent, and I've talked with most of you. I think this shaped us, and as it shapes us, and as our vision and values become more clear, I think it's going to shape everything we do, including our boundary study process. I would say it's already had an influence on how we went about the robust school criteria process that we've engaged in for the last 5 weeks. And then the third thing, I think it also gave our TSD, I should say stakeholders, a voice as well that was super valuable. So with that, if you look now at your packet that was in your folder, here are just some of the basic results. That's how the participants broke out. Um, we ended up having anywhere from 2 to maybe 20 parents on any given visit, um, and probably an average of about 6-ish at each school for parents. So they ended up being 12% of those 491 respondents. The vast majority of the respondents was teachers. And then we had in the green is school leaders, and non-teaching school staff was the other bigger category. Then if this was just a question we asked, because we were just curious kind of where people might be. The question was, which of the following best describes where you are regarding the district split? The blue is that I'm still in one of the early stages of grief, either denial, anger, bargaining, or depression. And you can see there it was only about 5% are still saying that they're in one of those earlier stages. The red is I've reached the 5th stage, acceptance. The yellow is I'm beyond acceptance and ready to move on. And then the green is I'm now optimistic and enthusiastic about the split and our TSD future. So I thought that was a very positive point of data, just to show that really 95% of our stakeholders that answered, this survey say they're at least at acceptance or beyond. And I think that was a positive thing to look at. So let's get right into the work. So what we this really will be a work session. We'll kind of adjust the time as needed. But what in your packet is a blank draft. And so what we'd like you to do is, I can put this on for 5 minutes. I can kind of judge by, if you need the full 5 minutes. If not, we can shorten that a little bit. But what we'd like you to do is actually, with a pen, go through on this draft and just think back to all of the different conversations you had at the various schools where you participated. And just start making very specific things. Reflect on your takeaways from those school visits. Neatly make revisions to your draft, reflecting the stakeholder input. Remembering that Sterling and I will take what you're doing there, and then we'll try to capture those elements in a more updated draft. And then at the end, we'll have you maybe just comment on 1 or 2 that you'd like to share with the group. So if you look at this, one that was just fairly common across schools, a whole bunch of schools. If you look at value 2 says we value student and teacher well-being. At multiple schools, they commented that rather than saying teacher, we should be more inclusive about the whole staff, right? So you might just circle that, draw a line out, and say staff or whatever other term you think better captures that. So that's what you're going to do for 5 minutes, is just go through and think back to the most, what you thought were valuable and relevant comments that you had with those meetings, and try to capture as many of those as you can. And then we'll go through another activity after that. So with that, let's go 5 minutes. And we can shorten that if needed, but just try to capture as many of the obvious changes that you remember from the visits.
Karen, do you have any more blank? Okay.
Got about 1 minute left. This timer froze, so. Okay, wrap that up. We'd love to just open it up to the group to talk about one or two of the main takeaways you had from your conversations in the schools as far as what tweaks, changes, additions, subtractions that you heard from any one of our stakeholder groups.
Do you want me to go first?
Be great.
Great. I a few things that I remembered, in the ones I went to at least, that many people like certain words like together about ours. It was fun watching people talk about joyful, especially when they weren't in front of the group, when I was just at a table. And they'd look, especially teachers, they'd look at that word and say joyful. And some even thought it was a bad word because we can't make kids happy. But then they would all come around to, but it means something different, and it grew on them. Parents, however, when they'd see the word joyful, they were just, yes, that's what I want, type of thing. So that was kind of an interesting thing for me to watch. Thriving, everyone liked that word, and also the high levels of genuine learning. Genuine learning seemed to be something everybody could understand, whereas words like cultivate, kids didn't get it. And kids and parents would give totally understood know, do, be.
Yeah.
But the knowledge, skills, and dispositions, teachers knew that, and the kids and parents, there wasn't a connect. And so it's good having those little table tents. Another thing that I got from a couple teachers when I was there is they just thought it was too long. And so that was, I don't know how to shorten it and keep it all together, but those were some of
Like the vision?
the vision,
That one statement?
that one
That one
statement.
Okay.
And I only heard that from a couple people, so I don't know how that was across the board. Maybe you heard it more or less on your thing, but I thought that was interesting. Ever since I heard that, I've wondered, how do we make it more concise and still keep
I wonder if
good
they,
words?
this is just, sorry, this can be discussion. So I wonder if that would be more a motto, would maybe be
Maybe that's
shorter,
what he
or a
was.
mission statement that
He wants something a little shorter and more concise,
to,
is what. And so maybe that's what it is. We just need a motto that would be easy to just say easily and stick on a wall.
Which would get back to the long, I mean, it would be tied to the longer one.
Yes.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
great comments. Thank you, Grace. Other thoughts?
My memory is not super great. I did go to these meetings, so I'm relying on your data. But I think the term genuine learning is going to take on new meaning in our discussions with what AI means in the learning of our students. So I think I love genuine learning. I think that in the meetings I attended, there was a great sense of appreciation for being included in the conversation. So strengthening our involvement of the community is important. I think that the community is in our vision statement, as well as in value number 7. We value the perspectives of community members. And also community responsibility in number 3. We might need to kind of expand or think about what that means, community responsibility. I think there's a little bit of hesitancy or uncertainty about what moral agency means in the education world. I know we've attended the BYU sites, and we have an understanding of what that means, but it sounds a little different in the to the public. It sounds a little bit churchy, but we need to be clear about what that means in the education world.
Okay, we have to keep together because we came back to that a lot as far as this is really a joint effort between all parties that we mentioned in line 7, in value 7, that this is really, we're trying to create a community effort here for the education of students to better our entire community. So that was very, has to stay. So we can't change that. Also some comments, subject-specific core standards. There at one of our visits, and this kind of spoke to me, was that instead of having core, maybe essential, because core it seemed to them to mean just math, science, English, social studies. So essential standards maybe, and that might be more of a But also on dispositions, we definitely need to add kindness or empathy of some sort. This is what we want our children to become, the children in our community to become kind and have empathy for other people. So
do you want to talk about the group that actually pointed that out to us
so that was
consistently?
Junior high students actually recognized that was missing. It's in there in considerate, but considerate I think is more of the 50-year-old person's word for kindness. I think it's better to even replace considerate with kindness or empathy, but I just feel that was something that was missing. Also, another group that, and I took notes along the way. I kept one copy and I kept notes, and they said adding responsible, because if we are creating, our ideal is to create productive citizens of our democracy, of our public, then it's important that we teach that responsibility and to have have that sense in them that this is what they need to do, and that responsible. So that was one word. Another thought, I had the same thought with Ada as far as moral agency. On the table talks, when I broke out in tables with individuals, that was the topic that was brought up the most as far as moral agency seems. But what was interesting is it was actually the more religious people that took offense at that than those who weren't. Those who weren't kind of were like, oh yeah, that makes sense. This is, they related it in regards to education, where I think some of us have kind of a mixed experience with that word. So my question is just, is there another term that means the same thing? Also, on number 7, another suggestion that was made that I really appreciated was reordering the way in which we have those parents, educators, students, and community members, and to state first what our main purpose is, and that would be students first. So putting students first, listening experiences of students. I would put educators, then parents, and then community members, but the parents and educators could be swapped. But I really feel like our job is the students, and we provide support and resources for the educators to be able to impact those students with input from parents and then community members. So I think that order matters in a lot of those. So then to follow on that, also our values, it would be maybe a good idea, a good discussion for us to look at those values and see, okay, is our most important value number 1, number 2, number 3? So, and I haven't given it a ton of thought as to where I would reorder them at all, but I just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah, and it was a teacher at Aspen, if I remember correctly, that, or no, Linden, sorry, that very specifically said that order matters. And I thought, oh, hadn't thought of that, but it does. And we numbered them not necessarily as an order, but more as just a marker to be able to
Yeah,
talk about
right.
them. So,
Right, but
Yeah.
placement matters.
Yeah,
I mean, I think if we're
absolutely.
dialing down into this as much as we are to get this right, then that's something we can look at. That's all for me.
Okay. I agree with Grace's having a tagline or a shorter version of this would be impactful. And I think everybody mostly likes the word genuine learning. There were some educators who still prefer deeper learning just because it's in their vernacular, the education community vernacular. If and I know Sterling has some strong opinions on this, but I think we would really want to dig in and message what genuine learning is, a definition of that. And a lot of people really who did like genuine learning picked up on the fact that it's the learners participating and responsibility to be a learner and a genuine learner. Transfer, leverage, apply. Sometimes I heard those are all very similar. Maybe we could simplify there. And again, going back to what Grace said, let's connect this know, do, be with knowledge, skills, and dispositions a little better. Under skills, perhaps including innovation and dispositions, the respect or kindness instead of considerate. Perhaps adaptability in being able to adapt kind of goes with being resilient. One thing that the elementary students picked out that isn't on there is safety.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. I did have that note.
Yeah. Feeling safe at school. If we're going to say staff instead of teachers, maybe we could say educators and just have the messaging that everyone in the building is an educator. You know,
Michelle, was that safety, was that a value?
that's a well, what is that?
It's
Feeling
really
safe at school.
it's
a value.
I don't know if it's a value or it is an expectation that we need to
Yeah.
provide that, but I don't know where that
Yeah,
falls.
That's a good question.
Anybody in the audience care to chime in on where safety
yes.
fits?
I don't think there's necessarily a right answer, but the way that we have currently been looking at it is that there are a list of essential dispositions that we are striving for our students: self-mastery, resilience, compassion, and respect. And then there's another layer called conditions,
Yeah, that's
The-
a word I'm looking for. Condition of safety.
creating a physically safe environment and a psychologically safe environment.
So I don't know how to put that on this, but yeah.
I feel like safety, both of those are just outcomes of doing all of this. So
There's a
But it's
sense
also a
of-
condition we have to create and
and-
provide as a district for our students. There's
Yeah,
some
it's-
physical, actual things
Yeah,
and
it's,
bits.
and mental, and a sense of belonging. You know.
Yeah.
I feel like safety is a responsibility of the adults. You know, creating the conditions of safety are our responsibility. And if it's enforcing rules, that's our responsibility. So I don't think that it's something a student should be developing. I think it's our job. So.
Everyone, I think, and this was, they liked the two-way thought of always assuming goodwill between the community and the board and district leadership. I wondered if we could capture some more family engagement. It says we value collaboration and accountability. I wonder if, and then number 7 also talks about we value perspective and experiences of the community. I wonder if we could capture some more of some family engagement there.
Do you
Actually,
mean- Go ahead.
there's one concern I had with what Jen said and now with what Michelle is saying. I think it's not meant to be this way, but sometimes it happens this way, that parents and educators are pitted against each other. Like, who do we put first on this list?
Yeah.
Who is most important in this child's life? If you're saying a teacher, those parents are going to be pretty upset. If you say parents, well, teachers see a lot of parents that don't deserve that. And they feel like they're, in the school setting especially, they're in charge. And so I hate to put one above the other. I don't want that competition, and I'm wondering if we could somehow have it on separate lines.
Well, so
I
if,
don't know.
what Michelle has said, if we add in with collaboration and accountability, add a parent portion to that, that it's
Yeah.
not just collaboration and accountability amongst our teachers, but also with families at home, and have some, I mean, do you see what I'm saying? That
Yeah.
that could add that, because that definitely is something.
Include.
I'm just thinking for us as a district, our vision, what we have control over is the what's the word?
You're
I'm losing
tired.
my words. Um,
Too long a
the
meetings.
area, the conditions, I guess,
we
of,
set the
that our
conditions.
students are in, and then our teachers, and then the parents. So I see it as this, what a school district has
What we have control over.
control over. And that would be, and it's not putting, it's like students, teachers, parents, community as in general, but.
Nice. Yes. And then one more thought, and it's a little bit of a wording situation, but do we think that this encompasses a sense of belonging, of valuing the diversity in our community too,
Okay,
and different cultures and languages?
good. Thank you. Any thoughts, Guy? By the way, when we were on our visits, I learned something about Guy at Grovecrest. Guy was the first kindergarten class at Grovecrest when it was brand new. So it's awesome.
Loved the sand piles, indoor sand piles.
Yeah, talked about they had indoor sandboxes
Can you imagine
when he
white
was.
sand?
Brave teachers.
And you wonder why I ended up being a ditch digger. Okay? You know, I kind of,
Need more mic.
okay. You know, I think one of our values down here is, you know, we value student and teacher well-being. That's just becoming bigger and bigger all the time. It's just, that impedes, if we don't pay attention to that impedes their learning on both sides and how they deliver it.
Okay, well, thank you for at least this first dive back into just remembering what you experienced with these different stakeholder groups. I kept my promise and I read all the words of all 491 because I'm an English teacher and I can do that. But so what I've done is I've done a couple of things. The first thing is in this packet. The second page there just shows you the exact breakdown of what percent from each school responded, or the overall numbers and that kind of thing, and how many responded from each school. But the third page, where it says what resonated with you in the draft vision and values, this was, I took the massive data set and ran it through AI, and I just said, what were the top themes in order of frequency of the feedback in these responses from this question. And so you can kind of see there's a graph that represents it, but there's a kind of a description for each bar on that graph. And then on top of that, what I did is, and I'll pass these out to you. Here's one for you guys. As I went through them, this isn't every response, but these are just representative responses. These are probably about 20% of the responses that kind of represented just the wide variety of different responses we got. And it was interesting. Some of you already touched on some of these things. You know, there's going to be comments about joyful and thriving. There's going to be comments about knowledge, skills, and dispositions. But so what let's go 5 more minutes. What I'd like you to do is just look at this first page that says what resonated with you in the draft vision and values. Don't go beyond that right now. Just look at what resonated. And if you want further, and if you have time, if you want further, like what people actually said, you can kind of dive into this other handout I gave you, where you can really start to get an idea of what they actually wrote that is captured in kind of this other AI analysis. So as you do that, just think in terms of, does anything stand out to you that we didn't already talk about in what you remembered and what you kind of took away from those visits? So with that, I'll start another timer for 5 minutes, and let's just look at that, and you can look for anything else that we might want to talk about. About 30 more seconds. Okay, you're not going to have time to read all of those representative quotes that I put on there, but if you'd like to later, but you certainly, hopefully you got enough time to at least get kind of a glimpse of it. You'll notice that as you read the actual comments, there's a little more nuance to some of them. Grace mentioned earlier, you know, if you look at number 2, and I numbered them so you can easily refer to them if you want to or need to. But if you look at number 2, it says, I love the vision is focused on joyful. When we get to the third question, which is what is missing or what should we do differently, you're also going to see some that say, I don't like the word joyful, right? So I've got all kinds of commentary, but I'm going to exercise restraint and not comment at all on any of these besides what I just did. Looking through that AI analysis as well as some of these representative quotes, is there anything else that you would add to your feedback on a final draft, or is there anything that stands out to you?
When you mentioned the what's missing, I jumped to that page, and one of the things that I remember now is some people said, I like the values, but it's not explained as how they're demonstrated. So that was one thing that I think was mentioned as missing.
And on the second question of what questions do you have, that was by far the most common question. Well, actually in the AI analysis, I think it was third, but it was a very common, like, well, how do we do this? Like, this is great, but how do we do it? Are we going to show evidence of it? All of that kind of thing.
I think it's evident that collaboration to an educator in the PLC process means one thing, but I think people really love the word collaboration in general, you know, as far as community engagement and collaborating in the education of their children, just helping them using that word in a way that they understand and not so much in our own professional sense. But when I talked with parents, they understood very well the need that educators have for collaboration and working together. They really love that idea. I see here responsibility is another big thing. I think you mentioned that, Michelle, that
I wrote that down too.
yeah, that responsibility needed to be included.
Any other thoughts on that category?
So were we supposed to just look at the first question?
Yeah, just the first question, and then we'll
Okay.
get some time to look at the next one. Any other thoughts on that category?
I like the feedback. I mean, of course, this is what resonated with you. What do you love about this? So that's really easy to read.
Yeah, we started with
I'm
that
sure
one
it's gonna-
because
Sure, it's
the
gonna get
next
a little.
the next
harder.
one will be a little less.
Thanks
It's
for
not most of it's not bad.
easing our way, Joe.
I think noting also that some people were like, thanks, this is familiar. This is not something totally brand new. They
Right,
appreciate.
but that it is new enough,
Yeah.
and if you read, like, I started diving into all of these, and that they stayed at their school, you know, that their excitement, if you read the quotes, the representative quotes, just that they're excited about this, and that this is what they've been wanting to do.
Yeah.
And they didn't feel they had the support to do that as much with ASD. So that's exciting.
One of my favorite actual representative quotes was it's familiar but new. I thought that was a really interesting way to describe it. Anything else on this category? Yes. So David, one of the things, what we started with is if you look at the blank draft, one of the things we started with is just from your experiences at the schools, talking to the different stakeholder groups, what were the things that stood out to you the most that you would say absolutely keep, or we need to tweak, or we need to change or add? Everybody kind of talked about that. And if you want a minute to look at that, that'd be fine, or if
I'm
you're ready
sure-
right now.
I'm sure that the same things that I would think of were already discussed, but there's dispositions there that we've missed, that
Yeah.
we need to add.
Do
Which
you
ones-
have
which ones would
thoughts
you
on
say?
what?
Like, no one wants to be confident. Most everybody just wants to be kind of like, I don't know if I can do that. Kindness, something having to do with kindness, something having to do with inclusion, something having to do with understand empathy, I think is the
Yeah.
word.
Yeah.
Something in that realm. Not leaving out the literacy, numeracy, subject-specific core standards. That's important, but then adding to it. They talked about that.
I mentioned that someone had said something about not core maybe, but essential standards, that would go along with the vernacular. That's what's required by the state, the state
Yeah.
essential standards as
Yeah.
opposed to core.
Yeah, core
That-
kind of sometimes is misunderstood or understood differently, whereas essential standards kind of goes back to the state, and then we can rely on that. Anyway, that's some of the
Yeah.
things that I remember.
Your comment was, sorry. I just want to make sure I understand. Literacy, numeracy, and
Those
list.
are important. People said, we still need to do that.
Okay,
Yeah, let's not forget those. These other things are good, but we're here for certain purposes, and among
Okay.
them are literacy, numeracy.
okay. It's
and
not
subject.
that we needed to list more. No, okay,
No, I don't think so.
okay.
Okay, thank you, David. Okay, any
Sorry, I was
other?
late.
No, you're good. Any other comments on that topic? If not, let's skip over to the third one. I put them in the order they were in the survey, but I think it may be better to look first at what resonated, but now what's missing.
Oh, so not the questions.
No. So what's missing from the TSD vision values draft? So again, there's the AI kind of, I did want to make just one comment. After interacting with that first question a lot, obviously reading every piece of feedback, if you look at kind of the results there, really the first one about genuine learning and the second one about knowledge, skills, and dispositions, and then even the fourth one, curiosity, creativity, innovation, and then collaboration, communication, all of that has to do with genuine learning. It seemed to me that there was definitely a strong resonance with this idea of genuine learning, that it's about more than just content knowledge, right? That it's about know, do, and be. And so I thought that was kind of something that was interesting on the results there. Okay, if you go to what's missing, same thing. There's a kind of a description for each bar on the graph. Just dive into that. And then there's also at the back of this packet, it's also the third section. So look at both of those, and then we'll go 5 minutes, so you have time to look at those. And look for what stands out to you. Do you want any additional time? That's 5 minutes. Do you want additional time, or should we jump into dialogue? What are your thoughts? Anyone? Jump into dialogue?
Let's jump into
Okay,
dialogue.
let's jump into dialogue.
Dr.
So what stood out in that section, either the AI analysis or the actual quotes from the survey?
I love the actionable, and I think we could even take every value and turn it into a we will instead of a we value. I think that would be a step forward.
Okay.
I don't know that this is disagreeing, but on the vision value participant, this one,
Yeah.
it says greater clarity and actionability. That's not really the purpose of a vision statement. I'm not opposed to saying we will, or whatever, but the action plan comes from the vision, not as part of the vision statement. Otherwise, our vision statement would be huge.
Yeah.
And there's already people who said it's too wordy. I would disagree. I don't think it is too wordy, but
Question about that. Is there a misprint on the greater clarity and actionability? It says the same thing under that one as it does under equity, inclusion, and diverse perspectives. Some percent.
Oh, yep. I copied and pasted in the wrong place.
What's it supposed to say under greater clarity and actionability?
Let me see if I can find that.
Oh, I see.
The bullet points are different, though.
Yeah, the bullet points.
You're right, but the description's the same, so it means I copied and pasted the same thing twice.
is that a mistake, Dr. Jensen?
That is completely a mistake. Get used to it.
The bullet points are accurate.
I was just kind of wondering what.
Yeah, that's.
Nice catch.
Any other thoughts on that? I'll see if I can look that up right now.
So David, you're saying that as far as the actual definition of vision, values, and goals, the actionable part is in the goals?
Yeah, or somewhere there. Yeah,
Okay.
what we're going to do. Even though I like the idea of making it more action-oriented in what we're saying in the disposition stuff, we'll have compassionate students. I have nothing wrong with saying it in ways that feel actionable, like it's happening, you know.
I am piqued by this comment about going back to what Grace said. I don't like the word joyful. Learning isn't always joyful. And then there's some mentions of adding in the love of learning. So maybe somehow we could capture the process of learning in either a value or a disposition. That it isn't always joyful. It does take time and effort. But effort brings rewards. It's hard, yeah, hard.
And one of the, maybe it's on the questions section, there's a lot of comments about needing to define terms, right? Because I think one of the things that happens is when I say joyful, it means something different than what you think, right? In my mind, joyful is not necessarily I'm having a good time. I can actually be pretty sad, but still be joyful, right? Depending on, anyway.
I find long division joyful.
Yes, exactly. A perfect example, David. Anything else stand out on that makes you say, yeah, that we want to make sure that's captured well?
Was there much of a difference between the things that were important to parents versus that were important to teachers? Because the majority of these answers are teachers, so that will overwhelm
You're right.
community answers unless we separate them.
That's something I could go back and look at. I'll need to in the spreadsheet isolate the parents and then see.
The reason why I wonder is
That's a great question.
we really didn't give community and parents an equal chance to be at these meetings like we did with teachers. We worked around the teacher's schedule and fit in, oh, and we'll talk to parents during this
Yeah.
time. And it wasn't a very convenient time for most parents on most of those times. I think if you really want to hear from parents, you have to do evenings.
Yeah, and with one group, it was a captive audience, and with the other, it's I'm volunteering to be here at an inconvenient time, probably. It's a good point.
Can I make a comment about number 167? Is this an appropriate
Sure.
time for that? Could we add one about evaluating information? I wasn't sure what they meant, but then in their next part, so much out there is incomplete, incorrect, or misleading. I really like that idea of being able to read through information, gather information, and then make accurate judgments based on that. I don't know how we'd word that. I don't know if it's worth it, but I really like that, and especially in today's world.
When we were all kids, learning knowledge really was the thing because knowledge was scarce. Now they're awash in knowledge, and just being able to try to, navigate these oceans of knowledge become tricky.
I just read about a judge coming down on two lawyers who gave two briefs to him with all these different points, but they were AI generated and they were false. They hadn't even followed up on what they were
weren't
saying.
even real
They weren't
cases.
even real cases. So I guess AI does bring that to.
Yeah. Any other? Oh, go ahead.
I like the idea of making community engagement a separate item, just really focusing on that rather than a string of things. I like it being its own. That's my opinion.
Separate where?
It's in the values.
No. Oh, in the values, something separate there?
Yeah,
Okay,
we
thank
talked
you.
about maybe on number 4, we value collaboration and accountability and family engagement. I don't want to do it. I don't want to string it out. I'd really love to just
How about we
say
see education as a community endeavor to,
something
or
along
something
that line.
to that effect that allows us to express that desire to make this a whole community effort.
Yeah.
Engagement in our efforts to educate the future, yeah.
Maybe something that kind of elaborates on the together we.
Yes. Yes.
Hey, one thing that stands out to me, and I think we have to keep remind you about it, is the question concerns number 109. Could we simplify the vision? Okay, well, we want to get all this, but a better vision statement is, I don't know. I just bring, let's not lose focus
No
of that.
doobie.
Well, and
Less
I've
sometimes is more.
yeah, and we've already heard multiple people say, could we get to some kind of motto or tagline that references the wider one, but can become much more just automatic, and this is what we're about, right? So, good point.
A lot of us don't all have PhDs here.
I technically don't either. I have an EDD, which is different. It's much lower. Okay. Any other thoughts on this topic? If not, let's move back to the questions or concerns. This is going to be, in some ways, this is similar to what's missing, but it's a little bit different. So again, just look at the AI analysis as well as the representative quotes. And
Number 2, is that what you said, or number 4?
the second question. So it's what questions do you have about the TSD vision and values? And on the representative quotes, it just says questions and concerns. So let's go 5 minutes, and then we'll discuss that briefly. One more minute. Okay, in the limited time we have, I'd love to spend more time, but you're welcome to read these at home as well and give any further feedback later. But anything that stands out in that section about what questions about the vision or values?
I think the overarching one of the things that I saw was, how do we measure this? So we know how to measure knowledge, right? We give a test, but it might not be as easy to measure our skills and dispositions. So then, therefore, how do we know if we are succeeding in putting our vision into action? What is a measurable metric that we can use for those two?
Yeah, how do we find evidence of doing and becoming rather than just knowing?
Is
And
that
it's a really important question.
is that part of the process though, that we're not there yet?
Yeah, absolutely. That's what Peter and Katie and Cindy and Valen and our research and evaluation person and our coaching person. And that honestly will be the core work of
That will come
teaching
later.
and learning team, because if we're going to have that as our vision, we better find ways to find evidence of it, right? And I believe we can do it, but not the way we've always done it, because it's what we've mostly done is evaluate knowledge and some skills traditionally.
So maybe we could maybe mention measurability, but I don't think we need to say how we're going to do that.
No, probably not in our vision value
Yeah,
statement.
yeah.
But I love that people are asking that, because that is our work, right? If this is what we're saying matters, how do we find evidence that we're succeeding at it?
Okay, there are so many good one-liners here. That's all I wish we could talk about them
It's
all.
I meant to have about 10 on each category. And as I'm reading through, I'm like, there's so much nuance in so many of the quotes.
So this one resonates, 147. If the document is intended to be used by students, then kid-friendly language is important. If this document is intended to be used by the adult educators in the district to guide decision-making, kid-friendly language isn't necessary. If the document is intended for parents to understand and discuss at home, then more context would need to be given. I believe a more thorough analysis of the audience of this vision and value statement would help to ensure that the lens is written with its correct meaning. Well, in just reading that just off the cuff, I'm thinking, so can we make 3 different versions? One for kids, one for teachers and staff, and one for parents?
It's a really interesting question, and isn't that a great nuance, right? That's what you would lose if with just an AI analysis. You'll lose that kind of nuance. So it's a great point.
I had a question. In the process, as we wrote the draft, did we on purpose not use because we're accustomed to the 6 C's in Alpine, did we on purpose not use character and citizenship? Jen?
Yeah, and it's interesting, because going back to what's missing, that was by far, if you look at the graph, it was by far the number one thing, saying we should have those. And just one thought I've had after interacting with this a lot, over the last little bit, is under dispositions, it might be interesting to say character and citizenship, and then put the dispositions, the specific ones, in a way that because character really is about internal, like who you are as an individual. Citizenship is about how you interact with the community, right?
Well, and I don't know the character. I mean, when I hear the word character, one of the first things that comes to mind is, oh, he's such a character. Like, it doesn't say good or bad. Character can be in any such way. And so, and I think that at least my thinking was that, first of all, we want this to be new. We want it to be familiar, but we also want it to be new, and we want to own it ourselves. And there was some concern that, that it's been great at ASD, but it's been on the wall and hasn't been implemented. So maybe this isn't the discussion, but it's the discussion of how to bring it from the wall into the classrooms, because it didn't resonate. It wasn't universally resonant. I think there were some people that had some concerns. So it was coming at it from with a new lens to be able to have ownership for our district.
So it's more of a delineation of positive character traits is what I'm
Yeah,
hearing.
I think
and aspirational, I would say.
I think in the
right?
dispositions, we talk about some of those things that we want in a good character
Right.
of a good person, to be kind, to be responsible, resilient. So that's the way I think. That's in
That's what
my
I was
mind.
going to say too.
And
I think
citizenship is
character and
just-
citizenship is a disposition.
Well, yeah, it's just, it is, well, and it's our main goal is citizenship, to create these citizens. Yeah, anyway, that's my thinking is citizenship is overarching of what we're doing. Character is more in the dispositions. And so these skills are more things that you do.
With your
Yeah,
knowledge.
yeah, with the knowledge to be able to result in being a good citizen and being a good person, which would be what, in my opinion, the dispositions would be. But that's my interpretation.
I think some of the 60s were also difficult to define. For instance, citizenship. When I think of citizenship, I'm a citizen of the United States. This is my nationality and everything like that. But when I read actually the definition, what Alpine gave it, it wasn't anything like that.
Right.
So no wonder my kids were not being taught the citizenship that I thought they were supposed to be being taught. And anyway, and so I just think that we'd have to go more into definitions better. Anyway.
And you saw in this section, the number one thing in this section is definition of key terms, right? By a long ways, right? Almost close to, not quite close to double.
But how do we do that and then keep it short? Do
Well,
we
so
have
I-
like footnotes?
I don't think it's part of this page.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think it's education in the community and education, continuing education. It takes 5 years, right? It takes
I-
time. So
yeah, I think you
it's
can have,
development and
I think you can have basically a tagline motto, and then this a little bit more detailed, and then I think you could actually create a document that goes into quite a bit more detail that says, this is what we mean by this, to create clarity. I
Peter,
don't,
did you have a comment?
I don't think
You got to
that's
come to the mic.
inappropriate.
Sorry. And AF was mentioned, I must say, in 116 comment, it mentioned American Fork.
Wow.
I'm just wondering if that was your comment, Peter.
Probably not.
Number 116.
I'll look at it. Oh, I was just thinking with I did read a lot of people saying, what about character and citizenship? And a lot of people giving different words for which dispositions, kindness, compassion, why not this, why not this? And you could almost help people feel better about having all the dispositions and the character and citizenship if under dispositions you just added high moral character or something, high character and not just character, and a strong sense of citizenship or like something in that vein. And then, as you were saying, on a separate document, say, this is what we mean by high character, this is what we mean by the sense of citizenship.
Well, and if one of the things that are difficult, and going back to Grace's comment of, the definitions of citizenship and character are two really large constructs, right? And they're made up of a bunch of individual characteristics, right? So like even if you look at the dispositions, when you look at resilient and persistent, those would be under character, in my mind, empathy would be under citizenship because that's an outward facing, that's how I interact with my community. Does that make sense? So that could be a way we could capture that, is we could say character and citizenship, and then take some of those key characteristics that we're saying this is what we hope to develop in any child that comes through our schools, both as character and citizenship.
I just wanted to say that I know that there are many schools that emphasize, they have the character trait of the
Right.
month, that kind of thing. So I think it was clear what character meant in Alpine School District.
Yeah. Okay, we are finishing at 5:30, right? Okay, so here, we don't have time to do the last two questions, but I just want to show you what's there. And I would encourage you to look at these. And then if you have anything you want to pass on to Sterling and me as we take all of this and your comments and I'd like to collect the draft copy that you wrote on so that we can hopefully capture everything that you wrote there. But the other two categories that are here is we asked what impedes joyful thriving. And that was actually a very interesting, because you're asking in some ways the opposite of what we're asking about, what resonates, right? And so I would encourage you to take some time and look at that. Then the last category was what do you want leadership to know? The way the question was actually asked is, what would you want the board or district leadership to know? And on that, I thought, you know what? If people have time, I'd love to have you read those. Those ended up being really in two categories of things that people had to say. The first really big category was just kudos, just saying thank you to what you're doing, how you're doing it, all of that kind of thing. And then there's a whole section of here's some suggestions. So that is what this handout is. The first section is the kudos, and then the second section is what people wanted to just let you know what they're thinking about. So you can look at those on your own time as well. But with that, I will say, having interacted pretty deeply with all of these comments over the last few weeks, it is obvious to me that we're on the right track regarding a vision. I think you can look through all of this data that I've passed out and recognize it does resonate generally with people saying, you know what, know, do, be is really what we want in our kids, right? And so with that, any other comments to finish up? Any thoughts?
Can you summarize what our assignment is?
So,
It's to Joe and Sterling now. We're passing the baton to them.
yeah, so
Well, we just got handed this, though.
yeah.
This is for if you want to
If
review.
you
This is gratitudes and things they want us to know, the public who responded to the survey.
So,
Look at this if we want to.
If you-
yes, so we're going to collect this
recommend it.
from you because you wrote your notes on
Oh yeah,
on
you
what
need to
you
fill that
wanted.
out because you're late.
So if you're okay,
This too,
No.
no, you can keep that.
and not this.
Not that either. And so you can keep all that. I'm only going to collect the one thing, and then what Sterling and I will do is we will take this. We'll. What are you more comfortable with? I'm fine either way. Yeah, why not? It'd be good if I could give you a call if there's something else. So if you'll leave that one page with me, that'd be great. And then Sterling and I will go through and we will rework this and try to make sure we've captured what has been articulated and talked about. We'll also, I'll give access to all of this to Sterling. Maybe you can read it on the plane on the way home or whatever. But the way I foresee this is we'll get to another draft that we'll bring back and say, how's this feeling and looking, and is there still anything missing? In the meantime, if you have time to read through all of this, feel free to read through all of it, and feel free to send me and Sterling an email saying, here's one other thing that really seems to stand out in this data. If you want the original spreadsheet where all of this came from, I'm also happy to send that to you. It's less readable because it's in a spreadsheet form, but you could see everything that was on the respondents. So, any questions or comments? Oh yeah, anything from this group? Anything you guys would want to add?
I was just going to say, this may not matter, but I was just going to say on the 6Cs dialogue, that's not an Alpine creation. That comes from research from Michael Fullen and others, and so it has been hit hard, and it has been something that a lot of these schools have dived into, and so that's probably why we're hearing that they're hesitant to see that go away. Is it's greater than just our current setting.
Okay.
Okay, we stand adjourned until our board meeting at 6 o'clock.
So, talk to Jesse about your bike ride down Maui.
Okay, it is now 6 o'clock. We are going to start our meeting today with our public hearing regarding the fiscal year 26, our final budget. So that was posted 10 days ago on the public notice website, and we are opening time for public comment regarding our final budget. Karen, do we have any? There's nobody signed up for public comment. So, do I have to adjourn it? Okay. So I will, since there is no one to give public comment for our. Yeah, I just opened. We're doing public hearing first. Are we recording? Okay, it is now 6:00. We have to have this recorded. So it is now 6:01. We are going to open our public hearing for. I have to record it. We're starting over. We're opening our public hearing for our fiscal year 26 final budget that was presented on the public notice website. It was posted 10 days ago. And we are opening time for public comment. Seeing as how there is no public comment for our fiscal year 26 final budget, I will entertain a motion to adjourn this portion, the public hearing portion of our meeting. Can I get a motion?
I move that we do that.
Okay, David Smith motions that we adjourn our public hearing for.
And I'll second that.
And then, can I get a second for adjourning this portion of our public hearing?
I'll second that.
I get a second from Board Member Fugel. All in favor of adjourning from the public hearing, seeing as there was no comment, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, seeing as how there is none, we will now adjourn until 6:05, when we will have our public hearing for our fiscal year 27 proposed budget. Opportunity to speak and then adjourn it before, and we can't start ahead of time, so we have to start right. We did just 5 minutes, thinking there'd be at least a comment or two. So talk amongst yourselves for the next 2 minutes. Okay, the time is now 6:05. We will now open our, oh, sorry, I got to start again because I forgot to hit record. Okay, the time is now 6:05. We will open our public hearing for the fiscal year 27 proposed budget. We allow time for anyone to make a comment on our budget that was posted 10 days ago on the public notice website. Seeing as how there is no one that has signed up to make a comment regarding the fiscal year 27 proposed budget, I will entertain a motion to close this close this public hearing regarding our fiscal year 27 proposed budget. Can I get a motion?
I move that we close the public hearing for the fiscal year 27 proposed budget.
Can I get a second?
I'll second that.
So a motion from Board Member Smith and a second from Board Member Fukel to close our public hearing regarding the fiscal year 27 proposed budget. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Seeing as none, we will adjourn from the public hearing for the fiscal year 27 proposed budget, and we will re-adjourn at 6:10 for our board meeting. Okay, it is now 6:10 on Wednesday, June 17th. We are going to open our board meeting for the Timpanogos School District. Want to welcome everybody here. Also, I need to excuse Vice President Sterling Hilton, who is traveling, and he will not be joining us via technology. He's probably sleeping right now because he's on different time zone, we want to start our meeting today. Cindy Davis is going to be leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and then we will have an inspirational thought by Board Member Fugel.
Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm up. Well, I'll just sit here, but tonight my inspirational thought is more of a memorial. And last couple of weeks I lost a dear friend, and that is John Burton. And I know a lot of you had a lot of good times with Johnny B. And I met John about it'd be 44 years ago when he became principal of the new Manila Elementary. And my daughter was in the first grade, and so he had both my daughters. And I was just so impressed with him and his abilities and what he did, and how my two daughters loved him as their principal. And so with John, our family history goes back a little bit, not really family, but my grandfather, Nils, served on the Board of Education in the 50s, and before he did, John's father, Alma P., was the superintendent of Alpine School District. And in fact, when my grandfather passed away from a tragic traffic accident, his father spoke at his funeral. And so we go back a long ways, but and then over the years, and then John retired and from Alpine School District, and then it just kept on going, and then he was a board member of Alpine School District there.
He was kind of an inspiration for me to do what I did a little bit.
Was that, he got you to, and I can still remember when he was running for, he called me when I was in New Zealand to get a little support and tell me how it was going and whatever, so we always conversed and stayed dear friends, and so we have a lot of good administrators and past administrators in our district, and but John was a unique person I think we all held in high esteem and looked up to, and I'm grateful for everything he did and what he meant to me in my life, and so, I was shocked when he wasn't doing very well, and then Vern Henshaw and I conversed and talked about the good old times with John, and I know he was a great board member too, so I try to be like him, so that's my thought.
Thank you. I think that we all feel that there's a legacy that we're continuing on. We're doing new and great, wonderful things, but it's also built upon a really good foundation, legacy. We have time now set aside for community comments. Karen, did we have anybody sign up for public comment? We have no community comments tonight, so we will move on. Going lickety-split. The minutes were sent out with last week for review of the board for our last meeting. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes as sent?
I move that we approve the minutes.
Thank you, Board Member Wilson. Can I get a second?
I second.
Thank you, Board Member Sorensen. Any discussion regarding the minutes? Okay, seeing none, all in favor of approving the minutes, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Seeing as there's none, the minutes stand approved. I'll turn the time over to Dr. Jensen for our approval of expenditure reports and claims.
All right, in your board documents are the approval of the expenditure of report claims. And I suggest that we approve those, and if there's any questions, Jason would be able to address those.
Okay, I guess I will entertain a motion to approve the expenditure reports and claims as presented in our board documents.
I second it.
Who moved?
Oh,
Who moved?
I would move that we approve expenditures, reports, and claims.
Okay, and then
I second.
and David seconds. Okay, so with a movement by Board Member Sorensen, second by Board Member Smith, any discussion about the expenditure reports and claims?
I would just invite our business administrator to make any explanations he feels are appropriate.
I do want to make one comment. It's interesting. I think that as time goes on and we have more things, like every time I get this, I'm like, oh yeah, that goes back until December. I think you're doing that just to make it look like we are more important than we have been so far. But I imagine going forward, Jason, that this will just be month by month, right? We won't have the full.
Yes. Yeah, this, once we are, a year from now when we have this, we'll have a similar to these first 2 pages, but it'll be for every single fund. So this first where it has Fund 12 and Fund 36, that'll become Fund 10, because Fund 12 is our Fund 10 for Alpine's books. And then we'll have Fund 32 instead of 36, but we'll also have other ones like Nutrition Services, Fund 49. We'll have the Student Activity, Fund 21, that we don't have right now. So there'll be one of these reports that are in the colorful for every single fund that we'll have. And then we'll have a report of just all the checks.
But that'll just be by the month, because like right now I'm looking and you have everything from December. I mean, pretty
Correct.
much for creation. So it won't be cumulative going
Correct.
forward. It will just be, because yeah, I go back and I'm like, oh, we spent that again, but then it's like, oh,
Yeah, and
no,
what we could
wait, that
probably
was
do.
from when we spent that
No,
in
it
December.
becomes cumulative.
Well,
So
yeah.
July is a standalone, and then July becomes July and August, and then September is July, August, September, right?
But we won't have
We
the
won't have 20
transactions
26
from each.
transactions.
Correct. But
Fiscal year
in FY27, we'll use this same, it'll start over, and we'll have that for the year. But then after FY27, it
So
will
it will
be different.
continue to, so this just gets really long, and I imagine we won't be printing it.
Right,
it'll
and we
just
can
be-
figure out a possible different way. But this is to be able to see checks where we can't get that detail. Because like Ada knows, on the Alpine one, it just shows all checks, and the report is anything over $10,000. There's another one that they can see for every, but that's just for that last month. But then these pages here with the red and blue and yellow, that'll be a cumulative, but it won't show transactions, it'll just show that snapshot of the last day of the month prior to the board meeting.
Okay. But, yeah, okay.
So
guess
you
that
can
helps.
see on the main thing that we're spending is in this Fund 12, and you can see down at the bottom, it's a little difficult to kind of see what's happening there, but the totals for expended is $252,823. So that would be December through the end of May. And that lines up with when we look to the budget or to the FY26 final budget, that same amount is shown as what's been expended through the end of May, or I had it on there May 28th. And our budget for the full year, even though it showed that 1.49, that's 1.49 million that we have in there, but we're planning, our budgets are set at 363,000 for the year of FY26. So we're at 252 out of the 363. We set those budgets for worst case. I don't expect that we'll be at 363 at the end of this month, maybe around 300, 320 or something. And then, yeah, so for this part, And then all these pages that show, like you said, the cumulative back to December, it's just kind of each account number is showing what's been spent so that there's totals there. But for next year, I think we can get where the totals show the ending balance without showing all the details by just changing the reporting period we're looking at.
Okay, are there any other questions or comments from the board?
There was the reimbursement for mileage. Does that include any mileage we accrue doing our job as a board member, like going to any school or something like that?
Yeah, you can absolutely claim mileage for that. Karen's got a form for that, and I would highly recommend doing that. I think that's
Specifically for driving, like when
Yeah.
we drove to the Capitol
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
drove to other things that we're representing the district at.
Okay.
Um,
And
you
those
can
were due on
up to
Monday.
up to Jordan School District
Yeah.
when we did that, and
Okay. All right.
that
Thank you.
is a legitimate expense, and that we can recoup for that.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Okay, seeing no other questions, anything you want to add, Jason? Okay. I had a motion from Board Member Sorensen and a second from Board Member Wilson. Board Member Smith. Okay. Sorensen and Smith for the win. All in favor of approving the expenditure report and claims, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. And we should make a note in the minutes that Board Member Fugel did leave about 3 minutes ago. So there are 5 of us here. Enough is a quorum. Okay. Next, I will turn the time back over to Dr. Jensen for our discussion and action items.
Okay. The first item on the agenda is the fiscal year 26 final budget approval. That is what we started with tonight, was the hearings for that and the fiscal year 27 proposed budget, but we need a vote on approval for the fiscal year 26 final budget.
Okay, I will entertain a motion to approve the final budget for fiscal year 26.
I motion that we approve fiscal year 26, final fiscal year 26 budget.
And can I get a second?
I second.
Okay, good. A motion by Board Member Sorensen, a second by Board Member Rex. Any discussion? I want to start. Yay, we're under budget. So excited about that. That's my comment. Any other comments?
Just thanks to Jason for jumping in the middle of it all and keeping us clean, keeping it going. So thank you, Jason.
You're welcome. I can walk through this a little bit. So we have a document that has a cover page. This is going to be the shortest budget book that we see. So it's 5 pages. Next year it'll be 100 plus at least. So
Well, enjoy this, board members, while we've got it, okay?
So really what we've discussed before, this is doesn't include most years. I mean, in future years it's going to say, well, okay, this is what the final tax rate's going to be. We're working with the state to be able to, all of our revenue is not right now not based on tax rates because it's based on the $60 per student, the amounts that have been preloaded in capital from Alpine. So everything right now is coming from Alpine, and these budgets are part of Alpine's budget. So what was approved last night in Alpine School District's budget already it includes this, and the other 2 districts are built into that. So yeah, that's on there, also included in Alpine's. So we're having these the hearing opportunity today and approving these to get us in the right routine of doing this. Not required because it's already been approved by Alpine's, but it's a good process to be able to go through so we know what's going on and be able to set those budgets. So there's 2 pages for the final FY26. One's in operations, one's a capital. So if you turn to that in your board docs, it'll look like, I think everybody has it, but look like that. And so you can see up at the top the revenue For the final revenue projected is the 1.498 million, and that's from the $60 per student that came on January 1st, and then credits for some salaries that Alpine paid for other districts to get that credit. So 1.498, and then it's set up on expenditures by the object number 01 through 08, and that's salary, benefits, and so forth as it's labeled there. So even though we have the 1.498 for the year, we're projecting that as we finish again, we'll be under the 363, probably somewhere between 300 and 350,000 when the salaries come through for that last month. And then for the capital, that's the next page, preloaded the $10 million to be able to use. Right now, we just built the budget as if we are going to use it. Nothing has been spent yet, so that'll just carry over to next year. And then after this portion, we move to the next, I'll talk a little about the FY27 budget.
Okay, so final chance for any comments regarding fiscal year 26 final budget.
I just want to note that the Alpine School District went through the same process last night, and there's no truth in taxation. There's no need for truth in taxation since there was no agreement across the 3 districts to increase taxes, so there is none. They did shift in the debt service. There's a rate at which, what do you call it, the basic rate? Anyway, we're lowering that debt by just under 1%, because we're collecting money in that account faster than we can use it, because it's only used for debt, and Alpine School District is not accruing debt right now. So they did do that last night. If you can explain that better than I can.
Yeah, I wasn't aware did they do 1 increment less or something?
We've been doing three increments less.
Mm-hmm.
Yesterday we did just under 1, like 0.6.
Okay. Yeah, so what that is it is necessary. So the district will tell the county this is how much our GO bond principal and interest payments are, and then they'll set the rate to bring that amount in. But there was about $40 million in that 3 or 4 years ago of fund balance, and so for the last 3 years 2 or 3 years reduced that by 3 increments as other increments have gone up to be able to spend that down. So there is still significant debt that's going out, paying off old debt, but yeah, so they must have decided, well, let's spend down that fund balance even more. Yeah.
Great. Okay, any other discussion? Okay, then it's been motioned that we approve the final fiscal year 26 budget. All in favor? Does this have to be a roll call vote? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, that is approved.
Okay, number 2 on the agenda is fiscal year 27 proposed budget approval. As Jason said, this will also be the shortest one you'll ever see. Jason, you said you were going to comment on that.
Yeah, so when we have a budget book next year at this time, we'll have to have it ready by the end of May. So by May 31st, June 1st, it needs to be ready and posted on our website, posted in our district office, and then approving it will be right around this time, the middle of June, once rates come out. And when we do the budget book, it will have both the final at that point, final FY27 budget and proposed FY28 budget. So even that final FY27 will be really short part of it, but the FY28 will be the large part there. With this, you can see proposing to carry over 1.135 million from the previous year. That'll probably be a little bit higher because we won't quite reach the FY26 final budget. So we should have about 2.5, it's listed here as 2.482 million to be able to use from July 1st of 26 through June 30th of 27. Right now, as we've worked through the expenditure budget, we're proposing estimating that we'll spend about 1.7, so the 1.693 million. And that the difference, why that's a lot more than the FY26, it'll be for 12 months instead of 7 months, and it'll also include a lot more salaries. There's some we built in there for people, maybe some secretary positions, working some hourly before, just a lot of positions to be able to really gear up to the start of the new district, and some of the people we've hired now to be able to have some stipend and hourly amounts as they're working more hours for Timpanogos School District. So that's even with that right now we have unallocated of about 789 million. So
789,000.
thousand.
I wish
Million would be nice. Those money trees are working. So 789,000, and what we'll do probably the next year when we're in FY28, every few months we'll be able to update that. We'll do a similar thing here. We'll keep checking that, give a report saying, okay, here's where we're at, here's where we're adjusting the budget. So once a budget's set, the proposed budget for FY27, we'll be revising it throughout the year and then have that final budget. So the final budget may be a little bit higher than this. The important thing is at the end of the fiscal year, you can't go over your final budget. The final budget can be higher than the proposed budget was a year before, but to have a finding from the auditors, none of your funds can go over what you said on the final budget.
Okay, I will accept a motion for approving the fiscal year 27 proposed budget. Can I get a motion?
I motion that we accept the fiscal year 27 proposed budget approval.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
Second.
A second from Board Member Wilson, a motion by Board Member Rex to approve the fiscal year 27 operations and capital budgets, right? So just the full fiscal year 27 budget. Any discussion from board members?
I have a quick question, and I know that we were told the Alpine will be covering partial salaries. Is that all worked into this as well, or is that not part of
Yeah,
this?
so I think well, I'll say what I think and then you add on. If we're hiring them from Alpine School District, they are covered for their salary based on what their current position is at Alpine School District. So if their position, if their lane or their step is different with us, then we'll be paying the portion above to make up for that. So it's more of a stipend above their current salary with ASD. But this gives us, I mean, I look at this and I see some flexibility with hiring from, I mean, there is an incentive to hire from ASD, but this also gives us an opportunity to hire outside ASD if there's a specific niche need that we have, to be able to look and still be able to afford their salary. If we hire someone like we hired Cindy Davis, and she is not a current ASD employee, then we are paying her, right now it's just hourly, she's just working hourly, and then in 2027, then she'll go on salary, and we'll take over that. But right now it's hourly, and so now we have the opportunity to do that. That's what I see here. Did I answer that correctly?
That's correct. And so the salaries in this, where it shows the 1.1, would include the stipend amounts for the board. We have been in FY26. The only salaries we've had is superintendent's and Karen's. Mine's been through Alpine, but then on July 1st will be all from Timpanogos. So that change happens a little bit. But yeah, everybody besides the three of us, it's that setup where Alpine will be paying their salaries for FY27. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions about this? This is math, David.
You
Do have
mentioned
any comments?
stipends.
Yeah.
For those that we are hiring for our district. Do additional stipends go into effect this 27 fiscal year or 28?
The
27.
27, because in 28, then like on July 1st of 27, which will be the start of the fiscal year 28, then there won't be Alpine, all the employees will be Timpanogos.
Right.
So we're paying their amount above what they're getting with ASD, the difference.
In this budget,
Yeah,
in this proposed budget.
in this proposed budget.
Okay, thank
It
you.
covers that.
Okay, thank you. The light bulb went off. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Okay. Seeing none, all in favor of approving the proposed fiscal year 27 budget, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, that is approved.
Okay, number 3 on the agenda is Resolution 2026-010. And this is the negotiated agreement between Aspen Peaks, Lake Mountain, and Timpanogos school districts. This is a fairly significant chunk of what will be negotiated between the 3 districts. We do have scheduled 1 meeting per quarter where there will be different cleanup type negotiation agreements that will go beyond what's in this. But this is in your board docs, and the negotiating team that has represented Timpanogos is Board President Lyman, Vice President Sterling Hilton, and me. And each of the other districts have also been represented by their board leadership and superintendent. And so this is a fairly significant step towards reconciling all of the different things in this split. And one of the things that I would say is it's been civil. I would say all 3 parties have come in good faith and tried to work out good solutions. That being said, it's also a little bit difficult because the nature of the code makes it so that we can only, like we're bound by code on many of the things, but there are a few exceptions from code, such as with the Alpine Foundation. So on the second page, where letter B talks about the Alpine Foundation balances, we agreed, this is just one example of where we departed from code, because a lot of money in the Alpine Foundation is directed towards a specific program or school. And so rather than just dividing it the way the code says we divide it, we said off the top, anything that's dedicated to a specific program will continue to go with that, and then anything that's undesignated, or school or teacher, and anything else above that then would be split the way the code says. So this is a fairly significant MOU, and so what questions? Well, I guess you start.
So I need to entertain a motion to accept this resolution 2026-010, which is the MOU of the negotiation agreement between the 3 splitting districts. Can I get a motion?
I move that we approve the negotiated agreement between Aspen Peaks, Lake Mountain, and Timpanogos school districts.
Can I get a second?
I second.
Okay.
And that's resolution 2026-010. Sorry.
Okay, it has been moved and seconded. I now will open it to discussion, which I'm sure we will have a robust discussion. So, please.
I have a couple. Start with East Shore. That is like intellectual property, so it'll come with us. But there's nothing here about sharing the personnel or the location with other districts regarding East Shore.
Right, so that will follow the code, which will be that we will take, if I understand this right, based on our percentages that we negotiated, 28% of whatever people are there, we would be required to make offers to. This doesn't mean that there's not opportunity to enter into additional agreements. There are still things that we're working on with print shop, I think, unless we didn't approve that, did we?
No.
Print shop, there might be a potential short-term transportation one. So there's still, that's what these additional meetings are going to be for. The main part of this, if I can say, it was coming to that decision on what the percentage was going to be for that distribution of the fund balances. And that's in, well, it says it in C. I don't know if it's yeah. Yeah, there's several places that the discussion was based on when our student count is decreasing. And so it has decreased from the date of the election, which is when in code liability distribution is set. Our student count was higher then, but then there were some interpretation that the student count should be counted as of the day of the split, which would be July 1, 2027. So then a lot of the negotiation and discussion revolved around what number we could use, what percentage we could use, and the agreement was that we would do an average of the, oh man, what was it? I need Sterling here. Yeah, yeah. So we took an average of that. It was an interesting experience because in this negotiation, it was almost as if we were on a balance, a teeter-totter. Yeah, where Aspen Peaks was kind of in the middle. They were kind of playing Switzerland, and any change that we make, the way that the code is set forth in SB 188, if we went solely based on SB 188, it was recognized that that wasn't wholly fair. And so, but any changes that we made tipped it one way or the other to be our disadvantage and Lake Mountain's advantage, or the other way. It would advantage us and disadvantage them. So Sterling and I approached this, and Joe, with trying to just use reason as to what these funds were intended for. And I feel like we did the best that we could, given the situation that we were in.
And honestly, hats off to Aspen Peaks. I think they were in a position to play mediator, and I feel like they did an admirable job of that to try to make it fair and appropriate.
Yeah.
So back to the East Shore question.
Okay.
We have no plans right now for Timpanogos School District to have a East Shore. We likely will have something, but we have no plans right now. It's nothing in the negotiation.
Right.
So we did do the MOU with Polaris and Summit.
But East Shore was not included in that.
And East Shore was not included in that. We
Or Alpine
could
Online.
still do we could still do an MOU with them, either to still have them house it and we tap into it, or we will also have the intellectual property rights to take all of that
and do with
create
it
our
what
own.
we want.
We-
I would
we
say
can
that
we can do
the
either.
door is not closed
No,
on that
not
at
at
all.
Same question, adult ed?
Same thing.
Same thing? No, we've
I-
not discussed it.
In fact, well,
there yet.
I can say this, that in that negotiation, it seemed to me, and I'm
In what negotiation?
in the tri-district
Okay.
negotiation, Lake Mountain expressed they want to be wholly on their own. Initially, they talked about wanting to be part of the print shop. That was the one thing that it seemed they were interested in maintaining access to the print shop here at ASD. At Aspen Peaks, we had worked out, that was one of the first things we talked about. And since then, at our final meeting, they made it clear to us that they want to do everything on their own. They want to be wholly, just because of distance for them, it doesn't make sense. They're facing issues out there with their city count, the cities and zoning to be able to get the properties that they want. And so that was a moving issue for them, but they aren't interested in doing really anything shared. With Aspen Peaks, we have been doing separate negotiations, just the two of us, because there's interest in sharing some services. So I could see that we haven't really ended our discussions with Aspen Peaks, so I think that is still open, and we can bring that to the
Yeah,
table.
if you'll make sure those two are part of the discussion.
Noted.
I have a question. This MOU talks a lot about assets. It doesn't touch on debt.
Right.
Tell me more about that.
That is set in code, and there wasn't in the asset allocation, there was this line C in the code that says that everything will be divided, all the fund balances, all of the assets, liquid assets would be divided based on student population. However, it didn't set that date. Conversely, with debt, it said it sets forth date and amount, and there was no C. There was no room for negotiation on that, and there was no appetite at the negotiating table to even address that. We did bring it up. It was shut down.
Thank you.
And I think on the asset, I think our team here with the three of them did a really good job on the assets, because it does say in the code just that everything would be by student population. But as you look at the different categories here, there's some that don't make sense that it's split that way. Take for example the student activity fund, Fund 21. That would have taken from each of the schools and then redistributed, but now it's written in here in this agreement that every school keeps their own fund balance. If there's anything at a district level, it would be split by the percentages that are set forth. Same thing with the foundation. It's set by the schools, and the teachers would be able to keep that. Some other ones like the employee obligation, so for vacation accruals, that those will follow the employees to their new districts, so those new districts aren't hurt by a higher liability of vacation accrual than what they have the money for.
Also, we did negotiate in this negotiation as far as payments for, it was in our better interest to have more things paid for by ASD prior to the split than have us pay for them ourselves. And so we did negotiate for the new Silver Peaks school, right? And T-Tech. That the remodel, the capital expense for that, and also the FF&E, which is the furnishings, fixtures, and equipment, will be paid for by Alpine School District capital funds prior to the split. So that will just come out of the balance. So we'll be getting, so instead of us paying for 100% of that, we're paying for 35% of it, or whatever the portion will be. Conversely, also for Lake Mountain, we gave the concession that they are opening a school this fall that will be serving, because our argument was that this will be serving Alpine School District students for a full year. They have the same issue. They have an elementary school opening this fall that will be educating Alpine School District students, and so we made the same agreement with them that the FF&E will be paid for by ASD prior to split. There were also concessions made for the building of the high school, as far as we know that our district has been paying, all three districts, ASD has been paying, as was approved by the ASD board, has been paying the interest on the bond that was taken out to build the new high school and this elementary school out west. However, that principal of that will be wholly owned by Lake Mountain. So we won't be paying anything on those two schools. However, prior to the split, ASD is paying the interest on that.
Could you explain a little bit more about Clear Creek proceeds and allocation?
Yes. Can you give me R? Okay.
Yeah, number
Yeah,
R.
so we got to a point in the negotiation we were stalled with being able to come up with that date with the assigned student enrollments percentages. And so Aspen Peaks came back and agreed because they were that fulcrum and they recognized that if we give, they take, or if they take, we give. And so they came up with this idea for us, the relationship with us. They are going to waive the lease payment that we would be paying our portion for the Polaris and Summit schools for the first year, which will save us about $500,000. And then they agreed to give $1 million to Lake Mountain out of their Clear Creek proceeds, if and when that is voted upon.
So can I just, in my mind, if Timpanogos has helped, Lake Mountain's hurt. If Lake Mountain's helped, Timpanogos is hurt. Aspen Peaks never gets hurt, so Aspen Peaks chose to hurt themselves to make it so that it hurts, but everybody's helped too, and it just kind of
Yeah.
says, okay, this feels
Evened it
good,
out.
good enough, okay,
Yeah.
move forward.
And they basically got us over the hump.
Yeah,
of-
that we were stalled for, there was a couple of days where we just, yeah,
just
so I'm
like-
grateful for them.
I'd just like to say a big thank you to Aspen Peaks School Board.
Yeah,
I appreciate the agreement for the OPEB funds and
yeah,
the statements to assure employees that students and employees were front and center in your negotiations, and I appreciate that.
yeah. OPEB was interesting. That was one of the first things we tackled because this is just such an interesting, Alpine District has made such an effort to fully fund this trust. This is a trust that pays for those post-employment benefits, so health insurance for employees from anywhere from 4 years to some who it's lifetime benefit of health insurance. And so this is an asset, but it's an asset tied to a liability. So we agreed to decide now on the amount that it will be divided when that asset is no longer needed. So it was very interesting as we were talking about, well, we're talking about when people are going to no longer be with us. But and I mean, it could be after we're gone. So we decided that, but it was, instead of kicking it down the road, we're going to make this decision here, now, and then it's set in a trust. So this money will be put in a trust that will be set aside only for these benefits, the liabilities attached to it. And we're going to, I believe, the other tricky thing with this that I would like the board to be aware of is this fund, when we went up to the Capitol and we're trying to get the appropriation money, this is the account that the state was looking at, the legislators were looking at, say, you have this money. And so we're hopeful that having this in a trust and issuing joint statements about this money, Aspen Peaks is actually going to be the steward district for this money. So we just need to make sure that people know that that isn't tied to any one of the districts. It is set aside for employees. This will also allow our employees the opportunity to transfer between the 3 districts and not lose that benefit.
For how long?
For anyone that is still eligible for that.
Yeah, so it's
Understood.
anybody that's eligible would still continue to be eligible if they stay within the 3 districts, which I think is a great nod to our educators that's.
I appreciate that it's going to be overseen by an independent third
Yes.
party that will be contracted.
Yeah, and we'll go out for an RFP, right? Is that what it's called? We'll go out to an RFP to have people say, okay, yeah, we want to manage this fund for you. It'll only cost you this much. So hopefully we can get the best deal amongst entities that provide this type of service. I'll let them know, David. Throw your hat in the ring.
I had just a few questions.
Are you leaving OPEB?
Yes, I was.
So can I just, my mind's got it. We are going to have OPEB be managed by a third party and Aspen Peaks, who's going to be the distributor of some
Yeah.
sort. And everybody who qualifies for that is going to get that. But at some point, the last person passes away or
Ages out.
finishes their
4
benefits
years,
that
yeah.
they're going to get. And at that point, there's $10 left in the budget. We get 28% of that. Somebody else gets, if there's 10 million, then we'd get 28% of that. That's what
Yeah.
the 28%, 40%, and what 30.16% is.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, and I was going to add something to that. I can't remember. If it comes to me, I'll say it. But
It doesn't need to be added upon.
yeah. Oh, the one that's what I was going to mention. The one thing of heartburn that could be, and I brought this up occasionally in this negotiation, is that over time, it is possible that our district and Lake Mountain and Aspen Peaks will have different health insurance plans or providers. And so that could be some heartburn for someone retiring from Timpanogos having to switch, because since they will be the steward of this, it will be their insurance plan, Aspen Peaks insurance plan, then the employee would have to transfer to receive that benefit. So that is one thing.
But if it's a cheaper plan, because Aspen Peaks decides to save some money there, then we're spending less out of the trust fund, and when we divide it, we'd get a bigger percent. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions on OPEB?
Thank you.
Okay. On item E, the SPED White Fleet, it says that by July 26th, that ASD administration is going to make this decisions to equitably allocate those vehicles to for operation beginning July 1 of 26. Does that mean that by that time all 3 school districts will have adequate vehicles to run their SPED transportation?
I would hope so.
Because that looks.
I think it will be.
I think what this is they're deciding, because our new schools will be opening,
We
where
should
those,
have what we need
yeah,
at that time.
because the SPED schools that will have those. They won't then go and redistribute. Each of the schools will keep what they have.
Right, that
which
was
is
the
gonna start-
concern. If we distribute that by student if we have some that are already assigned to Silver Peaks and T-Tech, then they will stay. They become like the furniture in the school. So they're attached to that.
And this is the white fleet, not the buses.
Right.
Yes.
Just the SPED White Fleet. There's also, I believe, same thing with D, Ada, Physical Facilities, White Fleet, and Equipment. And this spells out actually the 3 individuals that are working together. So these are the 3 physical facilities directors that will work together to.
Yeah, it just seemed to me that item E required new purchases of vehicles to be able to operate by July 1
Well,
of 2026.
we'll need those.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll need those starting in August of 2026. So I would assume, that's my assumption, that they will
Okay.
be already purchased and being used for a full school year
Does this
before
make
split.
sense? Okay. Also, I just wanted you to detail item H. I think it was like a $4 million fund that was our nutrition services fund is going totally to the new Juniper Basin Elementary for their lunchroom equipment. Is that correct?
No, it's going to be, and the high school. So it's for
And the high
both of
school.
them. The reasoning behind this, it was a give that we could give, something that we could give in good faith. Because that nutrition services fund, and you've been in ASD for a while, my understanding is that fund, and in talking to Jason, that fund has been growing, and it's very hard to spend. Like, they've been trying to spend it down because it is, it's restricted funds. And so it doesn't do us much good unless we're building a lot of new schools. And we're not probably going to be building a lot of new schools. And so it benefits them. So that's, we said, yeah, go ahead and take that. In addition, I mean, and I don't think there's any disagreement that there was there was a need for a new high school out west. And so in us, we felt that was good faith for that to be paid for in those restricted funds to Lake Mountain to handle the needs there.
And that fund balance, or that Fund 49, the equipment purchased with that fund can only be used for kitchen equipment for nutrition services. So it just, no, it wouldn't, I mean, it can be used, it is used for food, but it's not saying they're gonna stockpile some food there. It's just the equipment going into that. But it also is used for employees. So like when we get the fund balance right now is around 28 to 30 million dollars in that for Alpine in Fund 49. And the only way to spend it down is to purchase more equipment, to hire more than you need in the schools, or to lower the cost of lunches or breakfasts, which are already probably a pretty good amount. But we could look at that in the future as saying, have a fund
Maybe
balance.
that's a way we can.
If we have that fund balance to be able to, but it's got to be sustainable too. If you lower prices or keep, really what it is not raising prices as
Finding
often.
a sweet point spot.
Yeah, but keeping prices consistent for 5 or 6 years and then spending that down and then slowly raising those if needed.
And Jason, that'll be divided, the leftover will be divided by student population, the same
The
percent?
28, yep.
How come it doesn't say that?
It's assumed if it's not spelled out that it's going to be split that way. These are only the lettered A through whatever are changes to what is in code. So if it's not spelled out here, then we just assume that it goes based on SB 188.
Okay, and then item L, Sharon Special School, and really this is about both special schools. It's about Sharon, the Sharon building, as well as ATEC West, correct?
Right.
And T-Tech.
And T-Tech.
And TTEC. Okay. And this is just saying that they are going to fully equip these schools.
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah, that will be paid for, as I mentioned, out of ASD funds, since that will be servicing ASD students. That was a principle. Sterling and I really worked hard at, okay, let's come up with principles that we're basing these decisions on. And one of the principles was that if it's going to serve, if it's something that's happening that's serving ASD students this coming year, it should be paid for out of ASD funds prior to the split. So that's just reflecting that.
Can you explain why then the date of June 30th, 2027?
Where?
That's the last day that Alpine School District is operating.
Let me think.
Yeah, June 30th, because we take over July
26th.
July
okay.
1st, 2020.
Yeah.
I strike that question.
Thank
So,
you.
My question is, my understanding is that money comes from our 10 million capital.
No, it
So
does not.
That was one of the negotiations, is
That
that
was what
this,
we negotiated.
Okay, that's
this
wonderful.
now removes it from that, which is great for
Okay,
us.
that's great.
So each district still has, and there are needs. I mean, we have needs as a district. Lake Mountain has needs as a district. Even Aspen Peaks has needs as a district when for certain capital expenditures to run as a district. So that's what that 10 million now can be used for, as not for having. We don't have to use it for that. So that was I thought that was a big win for us. I felt.
And I
Agreed.
just wanted to point out that we're also furnishing CTE equipment for the new high school out of our CTE fund.
And that's another one similar to, and
Similar
that's
to nutrition.
similar to the nutrition.
Yes.
That would be
Okay.
Restricted.
restricted.
I think that's all my questions.
Okay.
I do want to commend you, Jen and Sterling and Superintendent. I'll just read this. It's from the document. The parties pledge to operate in a spirit of transparency, mutual professionalism and good faith. So, thank you.
I too would like to commend you for representing us well and being at the table. And yeah, good. Thank you so much. And thank you to the other teams as well for keeping students and employees forefront.
Agreed. Also, I would love if any of these employee, et cetera, pledges that you've written up are given to the employees or somehow that
Yeah.
it's the whole board, not just the board leadership, which I know you've done the negotiation and everything, but this is how we feel, the whole board does. And I'm sure the other boards feel the same.
Yeah, so we'll be doing a joint statement that will be from all three boards that will be going out. I think it's kind of written here, as approved.
All three boards.
Yeah, boards, not board leadership. Also, just on that, the covenant of good faith, asset allocation, and infrastructure security. T. Was this the bucket of keys? Yes. So I guess it overshadowing all of this process was the experience that happened with Canyons and Jordan Split, right? We know that a lot of this legislation that has come about because of that. And the story goes, urban legend is that one district handed to the other district a bucket of keys, not labeled, not anything. Here you go. Here's your stuff. And so the intention on this is that we want to encourage our employees and us as we're going about this to show that being professional and having good faith with the other districts. And so we will be making a statement. We will need to do that as a board and staff actually to our employees upon that transition, that because there really could be hard feelings as things are it is hard. It's a divorce. There's going to be feelings of unsettlement. And then this isn't going to stop that. And so this is just asking everybody to please work with professionalism and not in anger or in frustration. So.
And that we wouldn't sabotage each other in any way.
Yeah, I think in this whole process, I've come to recognize that there's a lot we can do together, even as the three districts, that we are after a lot of the same goals as far as finding out what's best for students and advocating at the state together. There are they have people who have relationships there that we can utilize and we can add our voice to theirs and get their help with certain things when we need it. That I think that is so valuable. You can't really put a price tag on that. You can't put a percentage on that. So that's something I feel came out of this is relationships, understanding, the ability to be able to go into a room and actually listen to someone who has a lived experience different than yours, which I know we've experienced as a board as well, but to really do that and as we have in our vision and our values, assuming goodwill, went so far to change me personally in my whole experience in doing this. So I'm, as hard as it was, I'm grateful for the opportunity I had to do that. Any other comments?
Call to question?
Ada's calling to question. So then okay, this is pretty momentous. There's only 5 of us here, but I'm going to do a roll call vote on this. We've had the motions, and I can't remember who they were at this point, so. Ada and Michelle, motioned and seconded. So we'll do a roll call vote. All in favor of approving Resolution 2026-010, the MOU that is the negotiation agreement between Aspen Peaks, Lake Mountain, and Timpanogos school districts. All in favor, Board Member Wilson?
Aye.
Board Member Lyman? Aye. Board Member Smith?
Yes.
Board Member Rex?
Aye.
Board Member Sorensen?
Aye.
Okay, seeing as how everybody voted in favor, that passes. What's next?
Okay. Fourth thing on the agenda is resolution number 2026-011. And this is for the authorization of solicitation of bids, design, engineering, and construction of a new transportation facility. One of the reasons we feel like we need to do this now is from a timing standpoint. If there is still a possibility we would share with Aspen Peaks for a time, but we also want to explore, would we be able to get our own transportation facility sooner than later? And so this allows us to start the process to proceed with planning, procurement, design, engineering, and construction processes so that we could explore those options.
Okay, can I get a motion to approve Resolution 2026-011, authorizing the solicitation of bids, design, engineering, and construction of a new transportation facility?
I move that we do that.
Okay, a motion from Board Member Smith. Can I get a second?
I second.
Second from Board Member Rex. I will now open it up for discussion. Questions?
Can you just clarify the need? I think it needs to be clarified that we wanted to share forever and ever with Aspen Peaks, but that can't happen.
Yeah, in the negotiation process, it came to our attention that Aspen Peaks is looking to possibly use a portion of the property that they have the current bus garage on for other needs. So they were willing to enter into an agreement for 2 years. That was what they came to us with. So.
And they're still willing to do that. We've told them to let's put that on hold and not develop the MOU yet, depending on, because there's some unknowns for us at this
And
point
really,
too.
some of the concern, Grace, it was that we wanted to retain some operational control over what was happening there at the bus garage, and they were looking at it more of we would just pay them and they would run it all themselves. And so there was some concern that we have a lot of unique issues as a district with some transportation stuff, and so we felt ceding all of that control to them was a little concerning. We wanted to kind of run out of there and be able to use them, but that wasn't their vision. They wanted to do more like, I think it's more like Logan and Cash are doing, and in our research, there's a little friction there and can cause some issues. So that's where we're going. And this doesn't mean that that's what we're doing. It just gives us the opportunity to go forth and do all of the technical stuff to even look into it. Of course, we'll come back, staff will come back with a proposal on what we're going to do, and then we'll be able to have more of a discussion about that when that time comes.
Yeah, similar resolution, it probably was 2026-009 was last board meeting where we had the same wording but for district office. So this is similar. So with that one, there's been an RFSQ, so a statement of qualifications that's gone out and should close tomorrow for the district office. A similar one we'll send out just for companies to say, hey, this is why we're qualified to perform this for you. When we're working with cities, we're looking at a few different sites, possible sites for this. We need to take it to their planning commission with plans to be able to show what it would look like. And so that's what this will allow us to do, is those companies will contract with to be able to do the design for us to have the necessary documents to move forward with cities on that.
That makes sense. He says it way better than I could.
Right. So this is kind of like a plan in the wings,
Yeah.
just in case it's
It's
needed.
just preparing,
Yeah.
to have a plan in place.
Sooner than
So,
later if needed.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, it sounds like it will be needed. It's just a matter of
When? Mm-hmm.
And this is, like you said, because they want to use that space, and that also affects probably where we thought we could share services with facilities and maintenance.
Yeah, that was kind
They
of the
don't
hope.
really have that interest there either, and that's what they're going to use the space for.
Yeah, if it could have gone the way I wanted to.
Exactly.
We would have been able to,
To
you use
share
our facility
yeah.
over there for your facility stuff, and we'll use the bus garage. We have that agreement where it's not as much money changing hands. It's just, okay, this is our use there, that's our use there. We pay the difference. But they have the desire to be on their own when it comes to facilities, and it's probably same as we do, that we kind of want control. There's also, so the issue with doing it even for a year, there are costs associated with setting up over there. So we would have to have a trailer moved. I mean, it's not exorbitant. It's not it's not a budget breaker, but we have to recognize that there are costs to do that. So if we have and that would be a sunk cost. So do we want to go to that expense knowing that in another year or two we would be on our own, or would it make more sense to put that money to use within the facility that we will be using? I mean, it's same argument for doing our district office and doing just a first-time build instead of retrofitting in an older school that would then we'd just be kicking it down the road before when construction costs go up, most likely, and we have to do it at a later date. So it's kind of that same thought process.
Jason, I'm not familiar with the term request for qualifications. What does that mean?
So it's put out like an RFP where through the purchasing department, there's software that goes out to companies that they can be able to see it, kind of like a public notice thing, to say, okay, this is out for bid, send us the information on why you're qualified to work with this. And then a committee that we would form would review all those like an RFP to say, okay, who's the best. But when they do an RFP, they put the cost with that. With this, it's just their qualifications, and then we rank them and have a top 3, and then go to the top one and try and negotiate a price for that. If that falls through, we can go to the next one. So it's negotiated after that, but it's to say, this is why we're qualified to be able to do this project for you.
Okay, any other questions or discussions about Resolution 2026-00011? Okay, seeing as none, all in favor of approving Resolution 2026-011, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Seeing as there's none, that resolution has been approved.
All right, our last item is the last page on your board docs, and this is just an adjustment to the board meeting schedules. One of the main reasons for this is there were, especially throughout the summer, only one meeting per month. And then as we're ramping up, especially with our boundary study and some other things, we're realizing there's a lot to do. And so there's changes. You can see the changes there. Some of those dates have been struck out. And then there's been some added, so that there's now 2 meetings in July, 2 meetings in August, and then the other adjustments, there's also 2 meetings in December instead of only 1, and then the adjustments there so that there's a better spacing between the meetings. So those are the proposed changes to our 2026 board meeting schedule.
Okay.
Can I ask a question about this?
Yeah.
How do these align with Alpine School District, or do we know?
Yeah, I was going to make that comment. So let me take a motion to approve the changes to the 2026 board meeting schedule change.
I make a motion to approve the changes to the 2026 board meeting schedule.
I second it.
Okay, now I can open it for discussion. Sorry, my kids are calling me. I'm just trying to figure out what they're calling me about. I think they want their rodeo tickets. Just a second.
Are we on the opposite week now? From Alpine?
Alpine changed some of their things too.
Yeah. So this is something that I feel like we're kind of teenagers just kind of starting to do our own thing, and mom and dad are doing and we're moving out on our own. So when we started, if you'll recall, we decided to go just the day after, same week as ASD. We'll just do the Wednesday following their board meeting on Tuesday. And now we're launching, and we have needs. We have needs that, and I don't know if ASD is doing. I heard that ASD was going to be moving to one board meeting a month just because their needs are ramping down. Ours are ramping up with all of the boundary changes. There are vast requirements that we're going to need to meet with public hearings for these boundary changes and possible consolidations. So, yeah,
Yeah.
that's why there's a need.
On the website, they are doing one a month, and our first one is the same week as theirs.
Okay.
But not everyone correlates, so. Okay.
Yeah. So sorry, Ada, if you'll have to be doing double duty sometimes. But this is what we did is we almost kind of worked backward from when we needed to make decisions regarding boundary stuff, and then worked backwards from there and tried to fit all the public hearings. I mean, we will do multiple public hearings on a night like we did tonight. We did the final and then the proposed all in the same night. So we will be doing that. But even with that, it's going to be a full schedule. So
Is the intent to move back to the second and fourth at some point, or we're just don't worry about that, let's just move forward and then see what happens?
yeah, I kind of think that. I think that we will work. I would imagine probably, David, in August or September, we will want to be looking forward to 2027 and get ours set then. And we as a board can discuss that and come up with what would be best for our own schedules. Is there a preference?
Just to know.
Yeah.
That's my preference,
Yeah.
is to know.
Yeah, okay. I think the intent is there to be able to get that done possibly, and I think that would help everyone involved, so, yeah. So sorry about all the changes. I know that this was, we kind of had an idea that we were going to need to change it last board meeting, but we had just changed it the meeting prior, so that's what we're doing them now. So any other? If we laminate this one, it's set in stone. Okay. Any other comments or questions from the board? Okay, all in favor of approving the new 2026 board meeting schedule change as presented in our board docs, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, seeing as none, this will be our new schedule. You can laminate this, David. Put it in your schedule. I will send it to Sterling so he can put it in his schedule too, his own calendar. Okay. Oh, yeah, we'll now turn the time over to the Jason, would you like time to do comments? Okay, we'll turn the time over to superintendent for comments, and then each board member will start with Michelle and work our way down here.
Okay, I'll keep mine short. I just want to express gratitude specifically to Jason and Karen. Working in a team is so much more fun than working alone. And then on top of that, I appreciate the team that we're assembling. And every day I become aware of things that our admin team is doing that are necessary things. For just one example, the naming of the new schools that happened last night. We've had all kinds of things just coming at us, and I thought, I haven't done anything about the naming of the schools, and I checked with Katie Bowman and David Maurer, and they were completely on top of that with those principals. And so I'm just grateful for a fabulous team that is going to set this district up for significant success.
I would just like to speak to the agreement of the negotiations. I think that it is such a monumental event that we are at this point. It has been something that we've been anticipating and looking forward, that it may have been a challenge, and I know at sometimes it was a challenging task for the negotiations team, and it was something that I think our communities had a little bit of trepidation about, considering past district splits in our state, as well as some of the circumstances that led to the split. Um, and I would like to acknowledge appreciation to Dr. Farnsworth. As soon as the vote was in, I think that he took it upon himself to set an early tone of 3 strong districts. And I just really appreciate that from Dr. Farnsworth, that he had the vision for that and for all of us. And I appreciate Rob Smith's leadership to help in that process as well. And again, I'd like to express appreciation to Sterling and Jen and Joe for representing us. I know that that wasn't an easy task. Conversations with Jen, I think it was a mental toll, and I appreciate you doing that for us. I also appreciate the other negotiation teams and allowing that line 4C to be something that we could work together on. And I appreciate their leadership and benevolence in making sure that every student and every employee was taken care of. This summer, I have been reading John Meekum's biography on Abraham Lincoln, and a quote from Abraham Lincoln really stuck out to me. And in his 18th century vernacular, he says, "There are few things that are wholly evil or wholly good. Almost everything, especially of governmental policy, is an inseparable compound of the two, so that our best judgment of the preponderance between them is continually demanded." And I see that in this negotiation process, that we have come to an agreement that is a preponderance of the good for everyone. And I just would like to say how thankful I am for that.
I'm grateful negotiations are coming to a close, too. And I'm thankful for everybody that has worked so hard at it. I also am very, very grateful that we have staff. Because today we had our first committee meeting with staff. And it was really exciting for me to be on the legislative committee and to work with our different staff members and get their feedback and know how Alpine did it and how we want to do things. And I'm very excited to go forward and also to meet with our communications committee, and I'm also on the policy committee. And I am just very, very happy with who we have hired in Timpanogos School District, and it's going to be great working with all of them. They're amazing people, and I'm just grateful.
I'm going to echo what Michelle and Jen said, especially what Dr. Jensen said about the team that he's assembling and that you're assembling. I nearly every week talk to Joe and just say, "You doing okay? You doing okay?" Because for a long time he was standing by himself, and then it was Joe and Jason and Karen standing by themselves without anybody to help. And as he's assembled us, I'm feeling like I don't have to worry about Joe anymore, and that's a good feeling. So, yes. So thank you very much, you and your teams. Want to report on the district dash. We finished our last run. It was our longest run and our hottest run. It was quite warm by the time we started and finished, but we finished. We went from Vineyard Elementary, and then past got to Utah Lake, along Utah Lake, past the Linden Boat Marina, past the Linden Sanitation area, as well as the animal shelter, and then crossed over the freeway and through doTERRA area to Mount Mahogany. And it was a little bit harder than the other ones, but we made it. We slowed down, but we made it. So that's the report. And we have parades in each of our 4 communities. We've done the Vineyard Parade and we've done the Orem Parade. It was great to see how many people from the communities are showing up, not all cheering us necessarily. They're just cheering everybody there. But it was nice to pass out candy, pass out little key tags, and see all the people there. And this Saturday morning, we have the Pleasant Grove Parade, and then the Linden one will happen sometime in early August. So looking forward to those two as a board.
Okay, I want to echo some other comments. So I was able to go on an Alaskan cruise with my husband last week, and I was able to totally just disconnect. I think I got a couple of texts, or I didn't check my email. I was very proud of myself, and I got a call and a text. That was it. And I came back, and things were done. It was so awesome. It was a little disconcerting at first. I'm like, wait a minute, things happened when I wasn't here to be aware of it. It is, and Michelle and I talked about this. Us as a board, we have been highly involved in hands-on, as Ada says. We've been doing a lot, everything, pretty much, until we hired Joe and Jason, and now we have this team. And to come back and see the work that is being done, it is a little disconcerting, so bear with us, Super Six. Sometimes it's hard for us to give up the reins, but we are committed to doing so, and we are so grateful. It's been awesome. And to have this, it's this brain trust, right? We have these experienced administrators, people who have been in the trenches. They know what we're dealing with. And to have them helping us and backing us up and providing the information that we need to make the best decisions we can is just such a comforting feeling. I also want to talk a little bit about just responding to some things that I've seen, questioning on our administrative hires and just administrators in general. As the longer that I've been in this position, the amount of stress and requirements and expectations for our administrators at our sites especially is overwhelming. And I want to give a shout out to each of the 29, 30, 31 administrators that we will have in this district that are doing the work. Things have changed over the last several years as far as I don't know if it's increased as far as how much meetings and paperwork but I know behaviors have changed. I've seen that as I've been in my children's schools, that behaviors have changed, and it's hard. Our goal as a district is to be able to support these site level administrators so that they can then be the support that the teachers need to have the best teaching and learning opportunities to be their best selves. And so I'm just very grateful for the administrators in our district and the work that they put in.
I have the opportunity to serve our district, our new district, on the Utah School Boards Association executive board. And we recently met, and I was grateful to be there with Michelle. We went together, and we have outlined 4 priorities looking forward to the legislative session in January. And those include increasing the basic funding framework for our special education students and programs, continuing to fulfill prior commitments to increase funding for at-risk students, and to provide ongoing funding to support early literacy initiatives, and to continue collaboration on public education funding mechanisms. So those are the 4 priorities, and hopefully looking to the future and our legislative committee, we will do our part to advance those 4 priorities. Thank you.
Okay, and I'm going to take some privilege since I get the final word. Can we show the new hires, Michelle, the slide? Tyler's doing slides now. Oh, this is so new.
Sorry about that, Tyler.
Yeah, Joe, do you want to introduce these people? And then I have one last final word.
Yeah, absolutely. As we continue to fill the needs of a new district, we're super excited to announce these 6. Dr. Anya Becerra Lowe will be our Director of Instruction Support, Access, and Enrichment. David Turner will be our Director of Special Ed. Cindy Gregson will be the Assistant Director of Special Ed. Andrea Paxman, Director of Wellness. Richard Thomas will be our Director of Equal Opportunity. And Karen Hunter, Director of Safety and Prevention. And so, again, we continue to just add really, really qualified and capable people to do all of the work that it takes to run a district of 20,000 plus kids. So.
Thank you. And if I could encourage the board members to take time tonight, tomorrow, on this paper that Dr. Jensen gave us about what do you want leadership to know. I'm going to read, because I want it on public record, comment 101. This went out in a questionnaire kind of thing for those who participated in our vision and values. And this was what do you want us to know? I support you. I hear you. I am interested in what you are trying to do. I hope you never feel alone. I hope you never lose hope. I hope you know that just by your asking and committing to read each comment that you are making a positive impression, and I believe you when you say you want to create a culture of joy and thriving in our district. You are supporting the community we have worked hard to create. You are inviting the unity I felt was lost when we didn't get to vote on the split. You are helping me heal, and I am thankful. I am proud to be a part of this district, and I am very grateful I was able to help vote for this board and that they listened well to our voices and chose our new superintendent. I look forward to continued communications from you. Thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for caring. And I think it was directed at Joe, but I think that speaks to all of us and the work that we're doing. I was on a walk on the Murdoch Canal earlier this week, and I had someone just stop me and, "You're Jen Lyman?" Yes. Jen Lyman, she's like, "I just need to talk to you." So she turned around and switched the direction she was going and walked with me for the last bit of my walk. And that was the sentiment that she expressed, just gratitude for all the work that we're doing and the time and effort we're doing. So yes, thanks to all of you. And with that, I think we can adjourn our meeting. Oh, do I have to take a motion? Oh, yes. Okay, we have need to go into closed session to talk about some property issues as per Utah Code 524205. Can I get a motion to enter closed session?
I move that we enter closed session.
I have a motion from Board Member Smith. Can I get a second?
Second?
Second from Board Member Sorensen. I will do a roll call vote to enter into closed session. Board Member Wilson?
Yes.
Board Member Lyman? Yes. Board Member Smith?
Aye.
Board Member Rex?
Yes.
Board Member Sorensen?
Aye.
Okay, we will stand adjourned at 7:38 to move into closed session.